Welcome everybody to the Rally Cry podcast. I am your host, Angel Rios, and I am so grateful that you guys are taking your time to lend me your ear and your presence. And if you're driving, if you're cooking, and you're taking for a walk, whatever it is, I'm just glad that you're here. And as you know, it's all about just improving ourselves, even if it is 1% a day. And before we go into our beautiful guests, and if you haven't noticed, we're in a different background because we're somewhere different. Right now, we're at VSP Productions downtown at 130 Union Street. I'm so excited to share this space and be able to have this space. And before we get into our guests, because this is going to be awesome, because this is the first time for sure, I want to let you guys know on May 22nd from 5:30 to 8:30, there's going to be a game night with Enough Said. And I'm just so excited to be able to share these milestones with you. And another milestone. This is the first time with the Rally Cry podcast that we have two guests. Ooh. Two guests on the podcast. So we have
Suzanne Parker.
We have Suzanne Parker, and we have
Chelsea Parker.
And Chelsea Parker. By the way, I just want to know.
We're not related.
No, we're not related.
I was just about to say.
Yes.
I was just about to say, you know, when I first saw the last names, I was like, I wonder if they're sisters or something like are related. So look at that, how that just coincides with everything.
It's meant to be.
We're soul sisters.
Soul sisters. I believe in law of attraction, and so I have like my best friend. He's my soulmate, right? And a soulmate is a mate that helps you find your soul, right?
There you go. There you go.
I'm so excited. So how you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Great.
I'm doing pretty good. I heard you guys were really up early in the morning today.
Yeah, we started this morning at 7:30 with a board meeting.
Yep.
Girls League of the Valley, and now here we are. So
Yeah.
it's a great day.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can say that now the weather is getting nice.
Yes.
Right? So that we definitely could be grateful for that. I think
Yes.
today is going to be another beautiful day.
Yeah, I think after the second day we can believe it now. Like, it's really happening.
Yeah, right.
For a while there, I
Yes.
wasn't sure we were ever going to see a warm spring day.
I know it was like a little wonky.
Yeah.
The weather was like, it was kind of like teasing us. And it was like, can you just, give me warm weather already?
It's time.
It's here.
Yeah, right, exactly. So before we get into a little bit about what you guys do, I definitely want to be able to break the ice with you with the card game Enough Said, perfect icebreaker questions. So we're going to break the ice together, okay?
All right.
So I'm gonna have who wants to pick a card?
You want to start, Chelsea?
I can go first.
All right, you could go first. All right, so all I ask you do is that I'm gonna spread these throughout my hands, and then you're just gonna pick a card. When you pick the card, you just read it out loud, and we start conversation.
Okay.
Okay. Dun, dun, dun.
It's destined. What does it say?
What is your go-to comfort food?
Go-to comfort food.
I like my carbs. So like
Carbs?
pasta, like a good pasta.
Like Alfredo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, like a pasta Alfredo. Yeah.
There's a staple to that.
Yeah.
How about you, Suzanne?
Oh gosh, I pretty much any food that somebody else cooks for me is comfort food.
Yeah.
I really love making a big pot of chili, and just like chili with like shredded cheese on it and sour cream and just mixing it all up, and that's pretty delicious. That gives me a lot of comfort.
Yeah, no, that's funny that you say it like that because it's like I'm literally comfortable. I don't have to do any of the work. You cooked it for me, so I'm comfort.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I think anything for me that is chicken, I love chicken. Anything
okay.
chicken, especially
Very
fried
good.
chicken. You
Yeah.
can't go wrong with fried chicken.
Yep.
Yeah. Enough said.
That's good.
Enough
Yeah,
said.
yeah.
We could do one more since there's two of you guys. So
Yeah,
Suzanne, it's your turn.
Okay, that was a good one. That was a fun one. Okay, get a card. What is one of your pet peeves? Okay, I love this card because I was recently talking, actually last night with some neighbors, and I said, love in a relationship is doing those things that your partner asks you to do that you're really like, do I have to do it? One of my pet peeves is when somebody puts something in the microwave and they don't cover it and the spatters go all over the microwave and then they don't wash it out after. So
Right.
now you know what's going on in my household.
There's moments that it happened to me, and I'm like, I don't even want to do that right now.
I
I'm
know.
hungry right now. That was the whole point. I put it in the microwave to eat fast, not to then clean.
Well, it's okay, but then if you clean it out after, then,
Right.
but yeah.
Right
one
now,
of my pet
I'm gonna
peeves.
start thinking about you. I'm like, oh wait, Suzanne said to clean the
Suzanne's gonna-
microwave.
Well, cover it. Just get a paper towel, cover it up. It's
Right,
all good.
right. I love it. Enough said. Enough said. Do you have any pet peeves?
I think I would say like a pet peeve, and this is gonna sound terrible, but I know I'm not the only one because I think there's like a name for it.
Okay.
When people chew too loud.
Oh yeah, that's so annoying.
Mouth smacking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially if it's on a meeting, like a Zoom meeting or something. We didn't have that this morning, thankfully. But if it's on like a meeting or something like that, I'm like, oh, geez.
You know, I might have just done it before. I wanted to make sure I had a sandwich before the podcast, and so I was doing it. Oh no!
My mom always tells me, eat with your mouth full, or don't talk when your mouth is full. So it's like that can very be obnoxious. So I can definitely double down on that for sure. I would say one pet peeve for me would be when someone says something and then they don't mean what they say. Right? Like if you said something and then you don't do that thing that you said, at least let me know why you couldn't. Like communication is everything. Right?
Yes.
So it's like if you say something, at least let me know that you couldn't follow up with it. That's fine. Like things happen. Like when someone kind of like leaves you up in the air when they say something and they don't even follow back with you, it's like it's almost like a smack in the face. It's like you didn't even think about me. But that's enough said.
Do what you say what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What you mean what you say too.
Yes.
Totally agree. But yeah, that wasn't so bad, right?
Great.
That was a good way to break the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there you go.
So I'm definitely excited to, as this is the first time we're meeting, right? So I'm so excited to get to know you guys, your background and whatnot. Let's start with you, Suzanne. I know you are the executive director for Girls Inc. And tell me a little bit about what does that entail?
Oh gosh, what doesn't entail these days? So I'm the executive director for Girls Inc. of the Valley, and we're a youth-serving organization in Holyoke, Chicopee, Springfield, and the surrounding area. And we have an incredible team of people that support the youth in providing amazing opportunities. So our mission is to inspire girls to be strong, smart, and bold. So that's what we do. That's our mission, and we have just incredible programs. I know we'll have a lot of opportunity to talk about it, but as the executive director, I guess I get to be the person that helps guide the organization and works with the team. But I certainly do not do it alone. I rely on wonderful board members, wonderful staff, community members, and volunteers. So it's a privilege to be in that role. Yeah.
Nice. No, I think working with the youth especially is that next thing, right? That's the generation that is going to lead into, right? And to be able to have it strong and bold and be intentional of how we do that is the biggest thing ever. So I totally agree.
Yeah, we want kids to thrive. We want them to have opportunities to fulfill their dreams and their goals and their passions. But sometimes there's support needed or resources needed or just another adult to say, yes, you can do this, and here's some support along the way. So yeah, we want everybody to thrive, and that's our goal.
Right. I love it. Thriving.
Yeah.
Right? No surviving, just
Let's
thrive.
Thrive.
Just thrive.
Not survive,
Yeah,
thrive.
just thrive. Right.
Thrive.
Totally agree. And so I just found out that you are a board member for Girls Inc., right? But I also know that you are a licensed independent social worker.
I am.
Does that also kind of come in with what you do at Girls Inc.?
Yes. Well, so I'm the newest board member for Girls Inc. So
Congratulations.
just like very fresh. So I'm still getting my feet on the ground, but I'm loving it so far. I am a licensed independent clinical social worker, and River Valley has worked with Girls Inc. They do work with Girls Inc. And so, and I work in the mental health setting. I run a clinic in Chicopee through River Valley Counseling Center. So, I eat, breathe, sleep mental health. And I love what Girls Inc. does. I love their mission. I love what they're doing. So I think this is the perfect fit.
I love it.
Yeah.
It is a perfect fit, right?
Yeah.
I think mental health and then an organization that work with the kids so that they can be better, right?
Yeah.
Is something that we need, right? I think there's a lack of resources nowadays, and to be able to have something that is able to advocate for the youth is something that is really big.
Yeah.
And I love that you say that you're becoming a social worker. That's something that I'm planning on doing. I'm going to Westfield State to get my master's.
Yes, do it.
I plan on doing the same thing and being
Good.
able to live and breathe mental health, right?
Yeah.
We have the podcast here. I'm also a therapeutic mentor. I work over at Lorenzi Health as of right now.
Okay.
But mental health, living
Yes.
and
On
breathing
that
every day.
path. That's great.
Yeah, and I think working with kids has been a really big thing. Prior to this position that I'm in now, I used to work at Massachusetts Taekwondo Academy over in East Longmeadow.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instructor Murdad and even all the staff, Miss Allie, shout outs to them. They're just really great people, and the way they work with kids is with structure, with understanding, with discipline, and consistency is the
right.
biggest.
That's
Yes.
so important, that consistency.
Right.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to the work you guys do, what is it something that you do consistently to be able to thrive in what you do? So I'll start with you, Suzanne.
Yeah, no, and I just want to say before leading into that, because that's going to be so important. The fact that Chelsea has joined our board at this time is like, it's like it's perfect because the whole theme for Girls Inc. Week, Girls Inc. Mental Health is about mental health. And here she is, a new board member, and that's her whole expertise is in that area. So cool. Yeah, consistency is just so important. And so when we talk about the Girls Inc. experience, it's those consistent humans, the people, the supportive volunteers and staff having that consistent presence. So staff, when kids come in, when participants come in, they know like, okay, there's somebody I can rely on. It's a space where they can share their feelings, their fears, so those consistent adults are important. And that's what we have. We work really hard to support our staff so that they are consistently there for the youth.
Right.
But just having a space, so we have an after-school program in Holyoke. And kids from 7-year-olds all the way up to 18 can come on a regular basis consistently into our building, so they know what to expect. There's a space there. They're going to have snacks. They're going to have healthy meals. So all of that, and the supports that we provide throughout that. So opportunities. They know we're going to be there. Girls Inc. is going to be there for them. There's a space for them. There's supportive staff for them. So it makes all the difference in the world,
Right.
And in some of the programming, actually, I was talking to one of our staff members. I think her Avi.
Yeah.
She was talking about how because the staff create those relationships and the kids feel a certain sense of safety in the building when they're coming on a regular basis after school, they're going to open up more about what their fears are and what their challenges are. And so from that, we're then able to think about other supports that are needed or other resources, like a partnership with River Valley Counseling, for example. And,
Nice.
and the staff that we have that come from River Valley and work with us on a consistent basis are there for the staff to help them navigate, how can we deal with those situations or issues and actually help the youth as well. So consistency is everything. It's so important.
Right.
So important.
I think consistency is what creates structure, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being able to do that is something that people can then rely on because it's so consistent. And so what would you say is something that you, Chelsea, and did I say that right? Is it Chelsea?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, just making sure. What is it something that you've done in your work that has been consistent to be where you are today?
I think, just always show up. I think it's just so important that, you show up and you are there. I work in the outpatient setting, and so clients count on their Tuesday at 10 a.m. or their Thursday at 3 o'clock with their therapist. And I hold a caseload as well, so my own clients count on that.
Right.
And so we keep, I'm very consistent in same day, same time, but I show up, I'm not calling out to work, I'm going in, I'm showing my face. And, because I'm the director, there's people that aren't even on my caseload that just know who I am because they've been there for a while. And hey, how's it going? Good. How are you? Like, I think it's just representing and showing that you're consistent. The
Right.
best way to build rapport is just to continue to show up.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think nowadays we can even say that, the youth and, I've witnessed it myself where, being consistent can put a lot of pressure, right? Sometimes we think about failure and then we think about success. And as much as we want to succeed, success and failure both have the same feeling, right? There's a lot of pressure to it. Like, I'm failing, there's the pressure. I'm succeeding, then there's the pressure to continue to succeed, right? And I love that you have a program and you're working with the youth, and then it's almost like coinciding the fact that you also have worked with youth, I'm sure.
Yes.
And, just people, right? Interpersonal relationships is a really big thing. What has there been any experience, and you guys could probably like chime in or back and forth on, is there any other time where consistency and the kind of structure where kids are struggling to be able to be themselves? Is that something that you experienced, and how do you advocate for kids that are struggling with that?
Yeah, I think I understand that question's like making
Yeah.
me think a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
where they might be, where kids are actually struggling with whatever the routine is or the expectations of them meeting those expectations.
Right.
We have a lot of kids in our program as they're sharing their challenges and the issues or what are they struggling with. A lot of them are struggling with school issues that are coming up at school. So I don't know again whether it's that consistent pressure of meeting the requirements or the testing or just what's the dynamic in the school, but they're really struggling with that. So, we're looking to help them, so what are those resources? What are those supports? How can they talk about it? How can they advocate for themselves or find their voice? So I'm not sure completely understand where you're coming from
Yeah.
that, but also I think there is that expectation of, always having to achieve and do a really good thing. And I have to tell you, we are an organization with the majority of women, and boy, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect all the time. And I'm sure women, it's not just women, right, that do that. A lot of us will do that around, feeling like we always have to be on, like we always have to be consistently achieving outcomes. And that's really hard, even in the nonprofit world, right? So we have funders. What are your outcomes? What's the impact? Well, sometimes it's just really hard. Right now, if enrollment, because kids are dealing with lots of stress and pressures, maybe attendance isn't as high as it could be. So like even our staff will feel it sometimes. What are the numbers? What's the impact? So again, having to be consistently successful all the time really can create some stresses on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about too with the program, you guys definitely say with Girls Inc. is to be helping young girls become more strong and bold, right? Strong and bold are, sometimes they can mean the same, but they can have different definitions. What is the difference between being strong and being bold?
Yeah, so we say, strong, smart, and bold. And, for us, strong is around health and wellness. So, including mental wellness, right? And so we think about the strength of, we do a lot around adolescent sexuality, healthy sexuality, learning how to understand your bodies, good healthy nutrition, like really, that when we interpret strong at Girls Inc., that's really kind of our focus is around the health and wellness, like physical activity and making sure kids are moving and being exposed to different opportunities to learn different sports and everything like that. So that's how we kind of interpret the strong. Bold for us is leadership, learning how to use your voice, public speaking, how to lead a presentation, how to lead a group. And we really live that value at Girls Inc. One of the things when you look at, kids that might have had a Girls Inc. experience versus not a Girls Inc. experience, girls are seen as leaders and they understand what leadership means and how they can use leadership skills in their community and in their neighborhood. So for us, that's bold.
Right.
Feeling confident, using your voice. And so that's how we kind of distinguish it a little bit in Girls Inc. anyways. Yeah.
Nice. No, that was well put, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that is a good way to, you know, differentiate the difference between the two, because I think that's something that, some people don't really bring awareness of. And I think that's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I definitely want to ask Chelsea, now that you're fresh, right? You're coming in you're coming as a board member.
Yeah.
What is the vision that you saw that made you want to join Girls Inc.?
I just love what Girls Inc. stands for. I think, very similar to what you said, I think we're going to be, passing the torch on, and these girls are going to make decisions for us. And I think more than anything, I think that there's been a stigma, that as far as, gender sometimes, no, girls don't do that. And it's like, no, girls can do anything. They can do anything that they want to do. And I think that putting their mind to what they want, we have to instill that. It's got to come from somewhere.
Right.
So I think, Girls Inc. provides a safe space, which is so important. It's a space that they know is going to be there after school, or is going to have snacks, or is going to have somebody that will talk to them and say, I see you're playing basketball outside. What if you join the basketball team? Or being bold in the sense of advocating for yourself. Well, I'm only 13. I don't know if I can advocate. Yes, you can. Let's find that inner voice. It's in there. Advocate for yourself.
Right.
So I just really love the mission of Girls Inc. and what they do. And I think that, I've been to some events and the girls are really strong. They're really amazing. It's really, really amazing to see them doing their thing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love to hear that. And I think when you work with kids and you see that, and you see the potential that they can grow, but they just need a little bit of faith. They just need a little bit of understanding and just someone to believe in them. And that sounds like that's the mission that you guys are able to entail. And I definitely want to know, in your experiences, right, working with the youth, has there been a time where when you're working with the youth that there's been a moment when they inspired you, and to what degree did they inspire you?
Oh, yeah. I've said, over the years, I've been around for a little while at Girls Inc. of the Valley.
Yeah.
I think what inspires me most is, I think we all have certain expectations, and I don't work directly with the youth, but I visit programs, or I'll, pop in, or I hear the stories from the staff. But I remember I was touring, we have a really great program called Eureka, and it's at UMass Amherst. And so we take a group of teens, like 7th graders, 8th graders, during the summer. Imagine them getting up early, getting on a bus to go do programming at UMass during the summer. And I remember like there was this really cool workshop going on. I don't know, it was about neuroscience or something. And I'm in the classroom and I'm kind of watching, and I see this one teen just like, and I'm thinking, oh man, she's checked out. Like that teen is checked out. Well, later on that day, we get back and we're back at the center, and they were sort of processing. They did like a rosebud thorn. What was great about today? What did you learn? And that teen knew everything that was talked about in that workshop, was the wise one. And I'm like, wow, that, I think we judge teens based on their behavior and how they might be presenting themselves, but man, they are taking it in and they are learning. So I was just so inspired by that. That was for me, don't judge, right? Like just, they are learning in their way, and we want teens to bring their authentic selves and the youth to bring their authentic selves. Sometimes we're like, oh, you have to be a certain way. You have to do a certain thing. We all have our own thing that we bring to this, right? Like, how we were raised or not, our experiences, our backgrounds. And so just really being open. So that totally inspired me just to learn and grow more, right?
Wow.
But even just this morning, we had a presentation. Oh, so sorry. I just made a noise with my pen. But anyways, it's okay.
It's okay.
This morning, our program director, associate executive director, was doing a presentation. I was so inspired to see kids. They did a whole visit to a pond yesterday. They were working with a UMass volunteer professor, and they were studying pond life. And the kids putting those big, tall rubber waiter things on, and they were in the pond, and they were picking up the turtles, and they were looking for the frog, and they're doing it, right? They're taking risks, doing something maybe they've never done before. Maybe they've done it before. I don't know. But how cool is that? Like, that just gets
cool.
so inspired when I see kids saying yes to those opportunities and really fully engaging. So it's awesome. And that happens every day. Like, that's just two tiny little examples. Like, that's every day of the work that we do.
Right. Yeah. And
I think that's what makes Girls Inc. so cool is that, while we're talking, it's like they have a choice. They can go or they cannot go, and they want to do these things. They want to go to UMass. They want to go in the pond and have the turtles, and they want the whole experience. They're not just like, oh, all right, I guess I'll go today. I'll sit on the side. They're wearing the waders, and they're so happy. All the pictures are them smiling. They're holding turtles. They're into it.
Right.
And so, they have a choice. They don't have to go, but they choose to go. And I think in some senses that is, being strong and bold, because they're saying, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to get up early, and I'm going to get on that bus.
Yeah.
I just think that's really great.
That is just so awesome. It really makes me think about you guys are, being able to give them an experience, right? Yeah. And the experience is just putting it right in front of them and giving them the chance to say yes or no, right?
Yep.
If they say no, it's like, okay, that's fine. I at least gave you the opportunity. It's there. And if you change your mind, just let me know.
Yeah.
And if they say yes, they're able to, not only have the experience, but also do it collectively, right? I'm assuming that it's also in a group setting, right?
Yeah,
and they're,
absolutely,
yeah. And I think that's just so awesome. And, when you mentioned UMass, I'm thinking about that big pond. Where's that? Where was that?
I don't know exactly which pond it was,
yeah,
to be
right.
honest with you. But it was a great partnership we have with a group called Accentria.
Okay.
And they've been doing wonderful adventures with us. And so, they've been doing gardening with us, different explorations. We have so many wonderful community partners.
Can I join at this point?
Yes. Well, I was just going to say, it's all, to me, when it's about opportunities, right? What are the opportunities we can provide? And we really want the youth to have voice in what those opportunities are. So today, as we speak, we have a group of teens getting on a bus with a bunch of volunteers. They're going to Six Flags. Now, one might think, anybody can go. They wanted that trip.
So bad.
They were working on financial literacy. They had a budget for field trips. And at first we were like, I don't know, Six Flags, but they wanted to make that choice, and they advocated for themselves. And so in the end, they're taking that trip. But so that opportunity was because they used their voice. They worked together to make a plan an action plan to how can we make this work? How can we afford to do this trip? So they were involved in that. So we really do try to get that youth voice, youth voice in everything we do.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I might be say that's so awesome so many times.
No, because it's my favorite word too. Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
It's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I say that so much is because it really seems as if like not only that you guys are giving the resources and the experience, but you're almost letting them be independent, and that's what allows them to be confident because they're able to step up to the things that they believe in, and then you support that, right? Rather than saying, "Oh, this is what we're gonna do," and then that's pretty much it. And they just conform to doing that.
Yep.
It's more of like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this, but what are you thinking?" Like you're giving them a voice.
They work together as a team too, which is
Right.
really nice. And so I think that the girls getting to see their friends and their peers all participating in the same thing makes it really, it makes it really awesome for them because, sometimes someone has an idea and everyone else is like, oh, I don't like that idea. But they all come together and they sit down and they hash it out. And they are going to Six Flags. They're at Six Flags right now.
Yeah, and we when kids, when we get to the point where we're adults, right, and we're making our own decisions, you have to have practice making good decisions. So if we adults, whether it's our parents, our grandparents, or I'm a parent, so if we always are making the decisions for kids, like here's what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, how will they ever practice making decisions?
Yep.
And so for us, getting that youth voice, getting their input, helping them make decisions, and sometimes they might not make a good decision. Maybe you make a mistake, and that's okay too. You got to learn from that. So the more we can give youth the opportunity to make those choices, those healthy choices, then they're going to be better able to make decisions later in life when there's bigger decisions to be made, right? So it's an important part of what we do. So yes, it's youth voice, but it's also youth decision making and leadership.
Right, right. And I think that's the biggest thing in this world, right? Being able to make that decision, right? And I think sometimes we can get fixated on making the good decision and hoping that we're not making the wrong decision.
Fear of failure.
Yeah, fear of failure. So it's just like, it's almost like you have to be willing to just make a decision rather than making no decision is worse than, just making the wrong decision. And, as many decisions as they are, what kind of decision makings you guys may have, like when you have these board meetings and whatnot, like what is something that you guys talk about to really, build this consistency of this organization for Girls Inc.?
Well, at the board level, it's the decisions around the finances. What are the resources that we have or that we need to provide staff and the building and all of that. So those are, major financial decisions that are being made.
Right.
Strategic direction decisions. And I think on a regular basis, as far as the youth, what decisions are they making? We already just talked about, like helping decide a field trip. But we have a group of teens right now that we're working on because we have this building renovation that's been going on in Holyoke, a building that we've been renovating. It's going to have a new teen space. It's going to have a maker space. So we have had a couple design sessions now with the teens. They are deciding. They're going to have input onto, what kind of lockers, what's the style of the lockers that are going in the teen center. We're going to do a design session with an architect on the furnishings, what kind of chairs, table, what other kind of things do they want. We've been doing design sessions and decision making around the maker space. So, I mean, those, decisions at all levels of the organization, we're always having to decide something.
Right.
Like I literally, like what color should the wall be at this point with a building renovation.
Right.
But we're also deciding who are the staff we're going to hire, what are the qualities we're looking for in staff or volunteers. Who are the community partners? So there's decisions every day. I think I get decision fatigue by 3 p.m. I need a nap because there's just so many decisions being made every day. So
Right. That could
Good
be
question. It's an important question. Yeah.
Right. That is almost like leading to burnout, right? Because decision making is what leads to that and stuff, right? It could be a lot. And one of the things that came up to my mind is when you mentioned about qualities that you have for your staff members, right? And I think that's the biggest thing because I'm sure they're on the front lines with the kids, right?
Yeah.
What are some qualities that you value in your staff in order to be with the kids at Girls Inc.?
I think, well, obviously there's got to be a quality of, commitment to the mission, right? That there's that passion and belief of the mission. A quality, we have hold values around respecting everyone's contributions and the dignity of every individual. So that openness to that and that belief in that. I think for me, somebody that can be optimistic and be supportive of the staff, or of the youth. And I think a lifelong learner. I want people who are open to learning and growing. And so if a staff member, they don't have to come in knowing everything. And certainly our volunteers too, right? Anybody that's going to work in our program, board members, for example, they don't have to know everything, but are they willing to learn and grow? And I even have to be willing to learn and grow. And what's that feedback? Open to feedback is really important because we're not all perfect. There's going to be mistakes or things that we need to do differently. So I think that openness and that willingness to work as a team and support each other is just so important. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's very important, and I love that you mention it that way, because I think sometimes when it comes to a new experience, right? Like you're coming in new, like Chelsea, as this being new, you're being open to this, and but the first thing was that you're seeing the vision and you're respecting that vision, and that with that vision is what makes you like, I'm on board, literally.
Yeah,
right? And and one of the things I think is, when you're able to be more open, you're able to learn a lot more about what it is, right? If that is with the kids, if that is within the organization, and what that's going to. I definitely wanted to ask too, because as a social worker's perspective, right? I think that is a big mindset. Is there anything that you've grabbed with the experiences that you've grasped throughout the years of practicing social work that you've now are going to implement with Girls Inc.?
I think being open to feedback and, using my own voice. I also have to kind of practice what I preach, right?
Right.
So with my own clients, with my staff, I want them to advocate. So I have to do that too. So there will come times where we're going to vote on things and I might say, hey, wait, I have a question. Or we might come to a vote where not all of us agree. And so, being open to the feedback and being open to listen, I think is really important. Because sometimes you have to just take a step back and like really listen.
Right.
So I am definitely just being a sponge right now. I'm going to the meetings, I'm reading thoroughly the emails, I'm really trying to just submerge myself in it. And I am just open to anything at this point,
And she's saying yes to opportunities.
Yes.
Right? Because she said yes to, appearing on the rally cry, right? So,
Yeah.
which is really amazing.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are here, and I'm also really glad and grateful that as a social worker, you see a vision such as Girls Inc., because I think organizations like Girls Inc. is so big and powerful, right?
Yeah.
And there's other organizations like Follow My Steps is another one that's really great, and many other ones. And to be able to have ones that definitely advocate for girls and being able to have them to be more bold and strong, giving them a voice, giving them the decision making, and being the support system of that is so important. So I just love that. This is a perfect duo. It's just awesome. It's so awesome. I love
duo.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
I want to ask too, like, I'm sure there's a diversity between, ages and culture background, right? When the kids that come in, and, let's say if it's a girl's first day, what would that look like for the girl that's coming into the program? Like, is it, like, I don't know exactly what that would look like. So let's walk us through, like, if it was a 17-year-old girl that's coming in, what does that look like for her coming in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, depending on the program, it could vary a little bit. But if it's a 17-year-old girl, likely she's going to be involved in our Eureka program or maybe our Teen Ambassador program. We have the most incredible staff, our facilitators, who would welcome them and greet them on their first day, making sure they're, understand what the program is going to be, making sure there is a group agreements and some team building with the other teens, probably introduce them to the participants. But if they're coming into our center, they're going to be hopefully welcomed into a beautiful space, where they're going to be, seeing lots of people, and they're going to get introduced, but also at their own pace, right? So I think the most important thing, and again, I don't have the benefit of working on a direct basis, although now I'm doing these design sessions with the teens, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm over my head a little bit. This group, it's hard work, and I totally like the work that facilitators do. It's incredible. But I think creating that space for kids to feel welcome into the space, making sure they're understanding what the program is, making sure they're starting to build those relationships, like you did an icebreaker with us. Like that's a lot of what we do is with icebreakers and just connecting. And then knowing where the supports are, right? Where the supports are. Some of our programs are pretty, like the Eureka program is a big commitment. And so we actually have parents or guardians come in with the teens that are applying for that program. So there's like almost like an interview, like what are your interests? How do you want to be involved in this program? So they understand, what that commitment looks like.
Right.
What do you hope to gain from the program? So it's almost like a little interview process. So it can vary depending on the program. We have partnerships with schools too, and so in that case, we have staff that are actually at the school. So it's a different kind of environment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's huge. It's part of like the enrichment period, so kids can choose. They have lots of different options of what they can choose, and some of the girls will choose to be in the Girls Inc. programming. And so again, we have great staff that go to the different schools and are there. We try to make sure wherever we are, the staff are creating a what we call a pro-girl environment. So it's one where a girl can thrive, ask questions, and get the resources that they need.
Wow. Enough said.
There we go.
And I say it like that because, when you mention going to the schools, I think the schools is like the biggest, most important thing that we need to be able to support, right? Because we're talking about the pressure that the teachers, the counselors, right, the kind of behaviors that happen in the schools. Like I go in schools myself, and when I'm seeing one of my kiddos and I see other kids and how they carry themselves, the things that they say, the things they talk about, the things that they pay attention to. And so it sounds like you guys are a little bit everywhere, right? We're in the schools, we have our organizations, we're doing field trips, we're doing the decision making, we're doing some design and some landscaping and stuff. So that's like a whole 9 yards of things, right? That's so awesome. And I definitely, you have something to say?
I think that our partnership with Girls Inc. is so great
Yeah.
because then the girls also get that kind of one-on-one time with a therapist to be able to talk about things that maybe they're internally struggling with, or maybe things they're not comfortable talking to the group about. And so I think that that's really helpful too, because mental health is so important.
Right.
And sometimes, some of these girls don't want to talk about certain things that are going on for them, or they're not ready to talk about it, but they have somebody that they can confide in a safe place.
Right. So you have, I'm sure yourself and in River Valley, do we have therapists that are also at Girls Inc. that have a safe space for those like sessions?
Yes.
Yeah, so we actually it's a wonderful partnership with River Valley Counseling. We've received some funding to help support it, because that does, it's not something that happens without money, right? So actually once or twice a week, we have a therapist from River Valley Counseling coming to our Girls Inc. Center in Holyoke to be available to the youth. And that has been so, so helpful. We also have a staff member, Amy, our youth support coordinator, who is also there to help support in these conversations and really start planning what additional resources, what additional opportunities will be needed and moving forward. And so she was talking about how really they've been, because they've created that space where youth can use their voice, where girls can talk about what their concerns and their issues are. You mentioned schools, like that's their biggest challenge and issue right now, are things that are happening in schools, whether it's, bullying, or whether it's, just not feeling like they, whatever those struggles are, right? How to navigate those resources. So now we know, okay, the youth felt comfortable to tell us those things. So that's the first step. But now, how can we reach out and connect with other community partners, other resources that are available to the youth? How can we help them learn how to navigate some of those resources within the schools, right? Because there are also supports in the schools that maybe the youth aren't comfortable advocating for or accessing. So that's really the next step for us now, is helping see if we can shift that so that they can feel more empowered to feel, because we know if they're not going to feel comfortable in school, their attendance is going to suffer, their grades are going to suffer. It just could be not a good situation. So if we can help support those resources and help them feel better about it, then everybody does better.
Yeah, I love that you guys, being able to have a space for the kids, because one of the things is that even if you're struggling at school, you guys are able to have a space for the kids, right? And letting them know, I'm like, hey, I know there might be struggles at school, but I'm just showing you right here that you are enough, right? That you are capable, that you're able to do these things. It's just that you need those resources, and sharing those resources is a big thing. So that is absolutely fantastic. And I love that you're able to do that, because these kids be, struggling in school, right? Especially like with interpersonal relationship, how to stand up for themselves and being bold and strong, right? Comes with a mindset, and that's really important. I think with the resources that you guys give them and the experiences, it allows them to be, and that's all that we need, right? And I'm definitely excited to go into our next segment.
Okay.
It's called Rally Rapids, and as there's two of you, I'm gonna give you guys 5 words.
Okay.
And these 5 words, I'm just going to tell you the word, and you're going to tell me the first thing that comes to your head, okay?
Oh, boy.
So I'll start with you, Suzanne,
Okay.
and then you, Chelsea, and then we'll just keep going after.
Okay.
So you guys ready?
Okay.
No pressure.
Yes. No pressure.
So the
Except my 60-year-old brain feels pressured.
So the first word is community.
Girls Inc.
Girls Inc. Enough said. What about you? What are you thinking?
Action. Community action.
That's very interesting. I love that. Okay. Second one is determination.
Oh, persistence.
And I was thinking like pride.
I like this. Yes.
Okay, so the third one is identity.
Power.
Interesting that you say that. Okay. What about you, Chelsea?
Self.
Self. Okay. The fourth one is clarity.
Oh, blue skies.
Blue skies. I like it. I love blue skies. I
Skies.
think we have some today too. So
Yeah, maybe that's what's on my mind.
Yeah. And peace.
peace. Right. I like that. And then the last one is funny that you say it, but the last one is power. We could go a little bit more. What is power to you? What does power mean to you?
Voice.
Okay. Voice,
Being heard.
being heard. Nice. And that's really it.
Oh, phew.
I know you're sweating.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely love what Girls Inc. do. I had Nikai Fondon. I know she's part of
Awesome.
that.
Yeah, she's on our board too. Yeah.
Yeah, she was also on the podcast as well. We were talking a little bit about what Girls Inc. entails, but to be able to be with you and, someone that's also a fresh board member and have a fresh perspective of why they joined is just, I love how it coincides with everything. And it's just so awesome to have you guys here. It's honor. And I love learning and be able to know that there's resources out there is so big. And I always love learning about more resources. So if I ever have clients or people that I think of, definitely going to be recommending it
awesome.
over
Yeah,
for sure.
perfect.
And if there's anything that I can be a part of as well, I would love to, because I want to be picking up some turtles too or something.
I know. Absolutely.
That sounds awesome.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to highlight if there's anything that is coming up that you want to highlight right now for the people that are listening, right? I think resources is one of those things. So if it is an event or if there's something to look forward to, what's coming up new for Girls Inc.?
Well, first of all, anybody wanting more information, go to girlsincvalley.org. So that's, what our website is. They can go to links. But we have Girls Inc. Week coming up. And Girls Inc. Week, the whole theme is youth mental health,
Yes.
helping kids feel better. So we've got an event coming up. We're going to kick off and launch, but on Girls Inc. Together, during Girls Inc. Week, May 8th, we have a network-wide fundraiser, actually across the country. Our goal locally is to raise $100,000.
Nice.
So we really need resources to provide all these opportunities for our girls. So we're asking people if they want to be fundraisers to help us out to really support our work on Girls Inc. Together. May 8th, that would be amazing. But help us celebrate Girls Inc. Week and raise the awareness of the issues of mental health and the needs for awareness around that.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, starting off the month of May as it's a mental health month.
Yep.
Yes.
Going into the first week and really trying to advocate for all that and stuff.
Absolutely.
So is that for the whole week or is it just on that day?
So Girls Inc. Week is the first week in May every year, and the theme this year is youth mental health. So actually, our program staff they've got some really, really great activities planned. There's something every day, culminating in a spa day for the teens at the end of it. So they're doing some really great curriculums, really great conversations. So a week of activities, as well as this wonderful fundraising event that we're holding called Girls Inc. Together.
Nice. Yeah. If anything, I gotta be there too.
Absolutely. I'll send you an invite.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Sounds good. Definitely excited for that. And I'm glad that you guys are able to, really advocate for mental health, especially I feel like now back in the day, we didn't really talk about it. We didn't say it was a resource. It was more of just like, oh, that's just some, wumbo jumbo thing or whatnot.
Yeah.
But being able to use that as, a way to empower the youth and say, hey, you being aware of who you are and your mental health is who you are. That identity piece, right? And so big. So I'm glad that you guys are breaking the ice of that month because that's a very big month. And as I always say, I think mental health is an everyday thing.
We're affected. We're all affected by it.
Yeah.
Whether we have our own mental health, somebody we love has mental health, we're working in mental health. it's something that used to be very taboo and not really talked about a lot is now becoming something where we're saying it's okay to talk about it.
Right.
And it's okay if you're feeling those types of things, or it's, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really great.
And I'm glad we were able to talk about it here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mission about Girls Inc. and everything that entails. And congratulations again for you being a board member.
Thank you.
I love that you're a social worker. I can't say it enough, but it's just so honored to be able to understand the mission of Girls Inc. And I'm glad that everybody, if you guys have not had the chance to understand the mission, you guys can do so with the website, which is at
girlsincvalley.org.
yeah, we can definitely be able to put that down in the link below. And make sure you guys follow us if it's on Instagram, if it's on YouTube, and your podcast platforms such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're a little bit everywhere, but I'm so glad you guys were able to listen. And, wherever you are, I'm just glad that you are here and we grow every day. And is there one more thing you want to say before we go?
Thank you so much. This is great. Really
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course, yeah. Well, guys, until next time, you guys be easy.